We're live.
Sweet.
There it is. Hey everybody, I'm Alex Mades, and this is
Alexa.
And she works for Linda Brandon State Farm out here in Wasilla, and you cover the whole valley, yeah?
Yep. Well, I can cover the whole state.
The whole state. And we are going to talk insurance, so homeowners insurance, a little bit about earthquake insurance to dispel some of the myths, and we can get some good advice.
Cool.
Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So, to build a little bit of context, tell me who you are.
My name is Alexa Wolf. I have been in the Valley, or I've been in Alaska my whole life, Valley for the majority part. So I'm born and raised here in Alaska.
Okay.
I stayed here for college, so I graduated from UAA and got my bachelor's in management and marketing. During that whole time, I worked for a fantastic art gallery, and when I graduated, it was still opened, and it was either buy that or move into insurance. And so, fun fact about me is Linda is my grandmother, and so obviously I came here, got my insurance license, so I am a fully licensed agent with my property, casualty, life, and health license
So
here in
that's
the state.
full license. It was, you said property, casualty, life, and health. That's
Yes.
what full license means, yeah?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
I don't have my securities license, but that's a whole nother
Oh,
thing.
is that like life insurance? Or
Securities license is like IRAs.
Okay.
That's the short of it. That's not all of it by any means, but that's the short of it. No, life insurance is, I have my life insurance license.
Okay.
I have health, property, and casualty.
Okay.
So I can sell all the lines of insurance.
Okay. So, your grandma is
Linda Brandon.
Linda Brandon. You've been in insurance for how long?
2.5 years, or just over that.
And the only reason you got into it is because Linda was your grandma, or was there something else that was a driving factor?
It's just kind of, this has been my first job right out of college.
Okay.
And so, not the only reason, but it was the right time for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
I like it. Amazing. Okay, let's get into some questions.
Cool.
You want to start with, let's start with earthquake insurance. How about that?
Okay.
Make it super easy.
So, earthquake insurance is not automatically added onto your homeowners.
Okay.
That's a big myth.
Okay.
And then I get a lot of people who get mad that it's not, because Alaska is a huge earthquake state.
Okay.
But it's not. It's an endorsement that if you would like the coverage, you need to add that endorsement onto your homeowner's policy. So it's an endorsement. It's not its own cover. It's not its own policy. So it's an endorsement that you just add on to your homeowners.
Okay.
State Farm specifically, it's expensive. I don't know.
That's definitely what I want to talk about.
I can't tell you like how much it is for any one person or any one size house, but it does come at a cost.
Okay.
And then, so not only does it cost more to have it on there, it also has its own deductible.
That's what I've heard, and I think that's when I was reading through comments about people asking about it. It's expensive monthly, and the number I kept seeing was 10% down payment. So I'm spending $30,000 before anything even happens.
Yes. Yeah. So what happens is it is a very, I mean, it depends on the policy, but it's a pretty expensive endorsement, I'll say, just in general. And then State Farm specifically, so I cannot speak for any other company because I don't sell any other lines of business, but State Farm's.
Okay.
They have a 10, 15, and 20% deductible of the amount that we have your house insured for.
Okay.
So it's not a flat deductible. State Farm does it, their deductible is based off percentage.
Okay.
And so with that being said, let's say the average house is about $300,000. Would you agree?
Somewhere, I think for the valley it's 286.
Okay, well for math, I'm going to use 300,000.
Perfect.
So so if your house is 300,000, and that's how much we have your house insured for. That's not assessment value or appraisal value.
Okay.
That's how much we have your house insured for. Then you have, let's do a 15% deductible. You have that's a $45,000 deductible.
Okay.
So what that means is if this past earthquake knocked your 65-inch TV off the wall, that's not covered.
Okay.
So let me back up though. So the earthquake endorsement, you have to have that on your homeowner's policy in order for earthquake damage to be covered.
Okay.
Okay. So for those who do have the earthquake endorsement, and they do have a 15% deductible, then you have that $45,000 deductible
First. And so earthquake damage, is that personal property damage or is that?
It's everything. It's personal property, it's the cost to clean up the damage, structural. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the three main things I would say. Okay. So from kind of what I've seen is that to get that deductible, you kind of need structural damage. Okay. Really is going to be the biggest thing. So my buddy Jamie went to a house and the roof had broken axle. The integrity of the roof was heavily compromised. Let me put it that way.
Perfect.
Trusses, I think, is the word I was looking for. Okay. So that's a big expense. Yeah. Let's say everything fell out of the cabinets, fell off the walls, TVs, refrigerators, whatever. All of that stuff broke. All of that's going to go towards the deductible. And then all the cleanup. So now you have structural, your contents need fixed and the cleanup of it. Okay. That could very easily get to $45,000.
Easily, yeah.
I would imagine. Now, I'm not a structural engineer, nor am I a contractor. Yeah. I have no idea. But once your house, the integrity of your house becomes at risk, then
that's when the coverage starts coming in, and that's when
generally,
the cost goes up too, though. So that $45,000 could definitely be worth it, right, if you have foundation issues and trust issues, and all your stuff is broken and stuff.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's probably a whole lot easier to get $45,000 than to be out a whole house.
Right.
It's a balance, right. And with insurance across the board, I would say that you either choose to pay insurance, and so you pay premium every month, or you pay for it out of pocket. Those are, insurance
one
is
or the other. Yeah.
It's reassigning the risk.
Okay.
So that's not the full definition of insurance, but that's a big basis of it.
Right.
Like you either choose to pay it here or you choose to pay it there.
Okay.
But it's never free, and you're never going to get out of paying for it. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
So, is there anything before we move off this topic? Anything else we didn't ask, or I didn't ask about earthquake insurance that you think the wonderful people should know?
I don't think so. It's as simple as whether you have the endorsement or you don't.
Okay.
One thing that we've been experiencing a lot right after the earthquake is those who don't have it because they call and they forget. Like nobody reads their insurance documents, and really that comes down to being the responsibility of the policyholder. Like you need to read it, and if something's missing, then you need to call your agent and fix it.
Okay.
And so what we've been noticing though is now everyone wants to add it, and we personally can't add it for 30 days. So we can't add earthquake insurance for 30 days.
Why not?
Because of all the aftershocks.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So State Farm wants enough of a, they kind of freeze it or it's a moratorium is what they call it. But, so I can't add it until 30 days after the earthquake.
Okay.
But
so is that a hard 30 days, or is it like at 30 days State Farm's going to reassess and be like, no, there's still aftershocks. We're going to extend it.
If we have another large earthquake, they'll extend it. Okay. But if nothing else large happens, like I haven't felt an aftershock for 2 or 3 days now, so we're probably fine.
Okay.
So that original 30-day marker should be.
So if someone wants to add earthquake insurance, you're saying wait until probably after January 1st, sometime beginning of January, then call you guys, and then you guys will be able to add it.
You guys can call me. My policyholders can call me now, and I can quote it.
Okay.
And so that you have an idea of how much the expense is.
Okay.
But I just can't physically say add to policy today.
So then if another one happens, you think you have it, but you don't actually have it because you can't add it until 30 days after. Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough about earthquakes.
Cool.
I'm over it. I think everyone else is too.
I would hope so.
Okay. So what about, on a completely different note, just regular home insurance? Like what's the policy like? What is something that people mess up and get wrong all the time? I don't know anything about home insurance, so
that's okay.
A quick rundown.
Homeowners insurance is kind of cool. It's one of my favorite things to write.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I find them super simple, or I like seeing everyone's houses as I'm writing them up.
Okay.
But the biggest thing I would say about your homeowner's policy is making sure that we have your home insured for enough money. And what I mean by that is that we have your home insured for enough to rebuild your home if it was to be flattened out.
Okay.
So if your house burns down to the ground, what is it going to cost to rebuild your house to what it was before?
So how would you determine that value? So like when you first buy it, probably like, hey, I paid $300,000 for this house.
So I completely ignore all of that.
Okay.
I'm glad you got a great deal, or I'm glad the assessment is really nice on it.
Okay.
But I completely disregard what you paid for it, what the appraisal came back as, and what the borough assesses it at.
Okay.
I disregard all of that. We have a tool built into our homeowners quotes that help us. It comes out with a number. So I put in aspects of your home into this tool, and it says we should insure your house for. I'll just stick with $300,000.
Okay.
We should insure your house for $300,000.
Okay.
Now if you paid $225,000, great. But if your house was to be flattened, you know, you may want those granite countertops back. You may want the crown molding back. You may want that 3-car garage back. Because the point of insurance, another point of it, is to get you back to where you were before your loss.
Makes sense.
And so, you know, you want that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in your 2.5-car garage? Great. Well, then we need to insure it for what it would cost to rebuild that completely.
Okay.
And I discount the age of the house. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
I discount the land value because a lot of people add in the land. I don't insure.
Makes perfect sense.
You know, for your for the coverage for your dwelling, I'm not insuring your land.
Right. Because you can't rebuild the land.
Well, your land's not going anywhere. Your house burns down and your land is still going to be there.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest, one of the biggest qualities of your homeowner's policy is making sure that we don't have you insured for too much. We don't have you insured for too little. It's kind of finding that sweet point.
Okay.
And I don't like making that decision. I will say my tool says I should use this. Do you agree?
Okay.
And it's as simple as that.
What if I don't agree? Nope,
So,
that's too little.
If that's too little, then we can always increase it.
Nope, that's too much.
So then if it's too much, then it's trying to figure out why you feel that way. And we can adjust things in the tool that I have, but you know, it's still going to come out with a certain number. If you feel like it's still too much, but you have a contractor's bid, I can submit a contractor's bid too.
Okay.
But generally nobody has those, so honestly.
So just believe my tool.
Yeah. So I mean, the tool's kind of nice. Another thing that I like to do with clients is, and a contractor can blow me out of the water. Please do if I'm using the wrong number. I'll use $150 a square foot.
Okay.
So do you work with brand new construction?
Not a lot. And prices fluctuate with the market.
They do. They really do. Based off the quality of the house, they totally do. So I personally still use $150 a square foot.
Okay.
Whether that's super low or super high. I don't think it's super high. If anything, it's too low. And what I do is I take your square footage times 150.
Okay.
And a lot of times that's right in line with my tool. So actually it's more than what my tool is.
Okay.
So I like to be somewhere between kind of what my system is telling me to do versus what that calculation comes out to be.
Okay.
And once I explain that to like the going rate roughly from what I was told when I started was $150 a square foot.
Okay.
Disregard all the assessments and appraisals and then disregard the age of the home. A lot of people feel like that's accurate.
I'm offended.
Sorry.
I'm still going to use my tool anyway.
Still going to use my tool anyways. It's helpful.
Okay.
So,
moving from that, what does it actually cover? So we've talked about like what's it going to take to rebuild your house. Does it just include the house or the things inside the house? What about the plumbing? What about what is that? So if we came up with a number of $300,000 and I needed to use that $300,000,
right.
What could I spend?
So your house burns down to the ground. We're gonna rebuild your house up to $300,000.
Okay.
Your contents or all your personal property is automatically 75% of how much we have your house insured for.
Okay.
I don't have the math on that, but so that's your TVs, that's your beds, your kitchen, your clothes, all of that.
Okay.
And I think the reason they do that 75% of how much we have your house insured for is just because it generally accounts for everything that's in the house.
Right.
And then your homeowner's policy will have personal liability. So if I'm coming over to your house and I fall through your porch or your deck and hurt myself and I come back to sue you, your homeowner's policy could pay for liability for that.
Okay.
There's some medical payments. If I twist my ankle walking to my car for whatever reason, your homeowner's policy could potentially pay for any medical payments for that.
Is there a deductible for it? So if I need to submit a home insurance claim, and I'm sure it depends policy to policy to policy, right?
Right.
There definitely is a...
Yeah, so State Farm uses a percentage-based deductible, just like the earthquake has a percentage-based. So State Farm also has, for their homeowners policies, they have a percentage-based deductible.
Okay.
It can be anywhere from 0.5% up to, I don't think it goes over 5, it may, but 5% deductible.
So
And
not
that
quite the 10% like earthquake insurance
Mm-hmm.
generally, but...
And I have a lot of people who choose the 0.5% and the 1%. That's a pretty standard deductible.
Okay.
And that's of your dwelling. So you have a $300,000 house, you have a 1% deductible, you have a $3,000 deductible.
Yep.
So, I would say those are the big key points, like the structure of the house, the personal property, liability, medical payments, and the deductible are the 5 things that I go over the quickest. And then there's so many endorsements that we could get into. I don't have them all memorized off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But there's so many endorsements you can add. Something that 2 other policies that pair really nicely with the homeowners is like a personal articles policy.
Okay.
And so what this is your homeowner's policy will have limits built into it for other things. So there's a limit to how much jewelry and furs would be covered in a homeowner's. There's a limit in firearms. There's a limit in coin collections.
That's a good one to know. Firearms, especially out here in Alaska.
Great. So in your homeowner's policy, if you have 1 gun, you're probably fine. I don't know one person that has only 1 gun. So
True.
But if you have 10 guns and your house burns down and your guns are destroyed, your homeowner's policy may only cover 1 or 2 guns depending on the value of them.
Okay.
So now you're out 8 other guns.
So what would you recommend to cover those 8 other guns?
So a personal articles policy. So a personal articles policy is for your high value items. That definition is a little bit vague, but your high value items that if you lost, it would basically suck. Like I have a lot of clients who tell me they don't have any high value items. So I'm like, well, that's a really nice wedding ring. Is that more than this limit? And they're like, oh yeah. I was like, okay, so
what else do you have that's that expensive?
Right. So your jewelry. Look at your wedding ring. Look at your jewelry box. Do you have high priced items? And it's not so much one individual item. It's the whole collection that you have.
Okay.
Your guns. I have people who do, a list of guns for 5. I have people who do it for 100 of them. Yeah. So,
that's crazy.
or your hunting trophies.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
There's a limit in your homeowner's policy.
Yeah.
And
those get expensive too.
Those get very expensive. And so there would be a lot of men very angry if their house burned down and all their trophy mounts were gone.
Yeah.
So once again, this personal articles policy can be one policy for the house.
Okay.
And it's very inexpensive. But you insure individual items. So it's kind of like individual items on a list or a schedule.
Okay.
So I can insure 10 guns. I can insure, your whole jewelry box. I can insure, your 3 moose mounts. And all of that goes onto one policy.
Oh.
And overall, very inexpensive. And I think it's one of the more, underrated policies. But, I have a couple pieces of artwork that are very expensive. Coming from my art gallery days. I'm going to insure those not because I can't replace them, but if I have a big loss, I'm already paying out a lot of money to get my house back up and running, I may not be able to go buy that $300 print again.
True.
Or I may not be able to re-get my grandmother's ring or, this, that, and the other. Right. And they don't have to be big policies. You don't have to insure everything, but the things that your homeowner's policy has limits on, I would highly recommend at least sitting down and looking at it.
Right. Putting them all together.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Because that kind of goes into my biggest recommendation to everybody.
That's great. Is my next question.
Sit down with your agent. Okay. Right? So people, especially after an earthquake, and sometimes even when people are just shopping for insurance, they go to Facebook. And people of Facebook, the people of these groups are not insurance licensed. So I'm going to make a lot of people mad and say they have no idea what they're talking about. They only know their own experiences.
Right.
Which is okay to share, but they are not insurance licensed. So I would highly recommend that everybody goes and sits down with their agent.
So, just to move back a little bit, take it with a grain of salt is what you're saying.
Yes.
So read that stuff. That way, maybe it drums up some questions in your head. Then you can take it to your agent and be like, hey, this is what I read. Is it true?
Right.
Confirm it for me so that way you don't go and, hey, I want this. Wow.
Yes.
And
and what happens is a lot of people compare their premiums, companies.
Okay. You said before even 2 different State Farm agencies, they could be different, yeah?
State Farm is going to sell State Farm products.
Okay.
So State Farm agencies are going to sell State Farm products.
Okay.
But depending on the endorsements, like if we both have our houses insured with State Farm, I could have a lot of endorsements that cover a lot of things, and you could have none of them. And so if we have the same thing happen to us, you know, you could get really mad at your State Farm policy or agent or company in general and be like, you know, they screwed me, but then at the same time it could happen to me, and I'm like, oh, it's covered.
Because you have all the endorsements.
Because I chose to sit down with my agent and go over the endorsements and choose the coverage that I want. And I really mean sit down. Sit down like you and I are. Sit down in front of each other with questions, with our policies, not over the phone. Because that's not... There's a gap in attention. Like when you're on the phone, like think about even when you call to make a bill, you know, pay a bill. If I call to pay a bill, I am cooking dinner. I am possibly watching a show, or people are watching their kids, or hopefully they're not driving and like trying to read off their credit card number. But you know, or you're, you know, if you call your agent for a quick question, you're driving and you're not, you know, there's a gap in attention.
Okay.
So I really mean, call your agent up. I don't care what company you're with. Go and sit down and review your policies.
Okay. Because
what happens is, you know, we write these policies years and years and years ago. Things have changed. Companies have updated their policies. And you may be stuck on information that happened 5-10 years ago, and that's no longer relevant. So.
Okay. So you're saying, right now for everyone, especially after the earthquake, review your policies so you're up to date.
Call your agent and go sit down with them.
And then, if you have questions after you review, you don't necessarily have to go in and talk to them, sit down face to face, every question, right?
Yeah.
Just go through and do like a once over, especially if it's been a few years since you bought your home. Especially if it's been 10, 20, 30 years since you bought your home. Go and sit down and have that one-on-one face-to-face conversation.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I would almost recommend that you do it almost every other 2 years.
Okay.
Maybe every year is a lot for people, but I mean 2 years, no more than that, because there's new endorsements that come out.
Okay.
There's things that have gone away. So just sitting down with the agent so you know what your coverages are, and you're not surprised when something happens.
What's that process like? If endorsements change, right? When you have drops off or when there's a new one that you want, can you, at any point in time, can you just add an endorsement, or do you have to wait till the end of a term?
You can do it at any time.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
And then, so, like, with that being said, like, just so, you know, everybody knows. And you're not surprised. Because I had a lot of people, you know, Monday morning call, hey, do I have earthquake? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, or people who got really mad that it wasn't on there, and they're like, I said for it to be on there 15 years ago. I'm like, but did you really? I wasn't here 15 years ago, so I don't know. Also, over the last 15 years, you've now received 15 policy, you know, documents. Did you read them? Did you, year 2, did you notice that something was missing? Like, everybody wants somebody to blame, and I get that. But there's some, you know, self checklists you need to go through.
Ownership is super important.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, so do you guys, as far as State Farm, you said you get insurance documents once a year. Do you mail them out? Do you email them out? Do you just upload them to a portal? Like, how could one
State Farm loves to mail you stuff. So you'll get everything in the mail.
I hate paying.
You'll get everything in the mail, and then State Farm allows you to have online accounts.
Okay.
So everybody can have an online account, and everybody can go check their policy at any moment to go see what's on their policies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just got my insurance policy in the mail. I want to sit down with my wonderful insurance agent, Alexa, and review it. How much time do I need to block off? Because I'm busy and I commute to Anchorage every day, Monday to Friday.
totally get
How do
that.
we make this happen?
So every office is going to be a little bit different.
Okay.
I'm willing to stay late.
Okay.
I'm willing to come in on a Saturday. Okay. Most offices, I would say, especially State Farm, our State Farm family, even though we're all separate books of business, like, for the most part, we all value our policyholders a lot. And so we're going to make time for you as long as you make time for us. So I totally get people are busy, but it's an important policy because it's your house. Like, if you lose your house, it's a big deal. So I totally get people who commute and they're, here in the office. We're more than happy to sit down with you. I would say just as long as the policyholder is willing to sit down with us. And I would say about an hour. Okay. Does it have to be that long? No. It may be super simple and you may not have that many questions. That's okay. But I'd say 30 minutes to an hour to sit down and really review not just your homeowners. I mean, just like everything you have. That should be about enough time. Okay.
And so let's say I commute, I can't make it, whatever, but I have an hour lunch, and you guys are my State Farm office, but I work in Anchorage. Can another State Farm, like another Anchorage agency?
No, it really needs to be your agent.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you need to do it over the phone, you need to do it over the phone. Okay. But, yeah, no, it really needs to be your own agent. Okay.
So you would recommend, first step, sit down.
Yes.
For some reason, if you just can't make it happen.
After hours or Saturday.
Okay. And then do a phone interview.
Yes.
Before you go and try and get another insurance agency, even if it's the same company, to review your policy.
Well, they won't have access to your policies.
Oh, perfect.
So it doesn't even matter. Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
Well, what if I bring my paper one in?
Hey, yeah.
Look at this with me.
They could do that. They just can't see anything else.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. So we talked who you are. We talked what the general public should know. We talked piece of advice. We talked earthquake insurance. What else you got for me? Anything else in the world that you want?
I would say another piece of advice is take videos and pictures of your house.
What do you mean? Just like randomly, like every Tuesday?
I mean, that might be a little excessive, but like maybe once a year.
Okay.
Go and take a video of your house. Go take photos of your house. Put them on your email. Leave them there for funsies. Because if your house burns down, right? We'll go into that. If your house burns down, a lot of times you've just gone through a horrific event.
Okay.
Are you going to remember exactly what was in your room?
Probably not.
Exactly. So if you have the photos, you can remember. Or if you have the photos or video, you can remember what was where. How many of these things did you have? If something happens, you know what was in your house.
It'll help you jog your memory when you have to go through and answer all those tough questions after a traumatic event.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So once a year, nothing crazy. Just take a few minutes and walk through your house.
Keep it on your phone. Keep it in your email. I wouldn't say put it in your safe because if your house burns down, your safe may or may not make it. I don't know. I don't personally have a safe, so. Yeah.
Well, I hear a lot of those safes too. The safe is fine. It still gets hot inside the safe though. So.
That's beyond me.
Yeah.
I can't say one way or another for that. So.
Okay. So. Anything else? Anything? So like just in general, what's a lot of the phone calls you guys are getting right now, other than earthquake stuff? Just like a very common question you guys receive that it'll help get your phone to stop ringing. It'll help people know more about their policy and be more prepared. More knowledgeable.
For homeowners specifically, it's a whole bunch of things. Okay. Kind of going back to saying, don't compare like each other's policies because there's no such thing as full coverage. There's no such thing as full coverage on your auto insurance. There's no such thing as full coverage on your house. Okay. The reason I say that is everybody's going to have, just like I mentioned, different endorsements, different limits, different... Okay. And just go and sit down with your agent. That would be the biggest thing. If you have questions... There's not one question I'm getting that I'm like, oh my God, please stop asking. Yeah. It's just different things. Okay. Sit down with your agent, figure out what you have. If you're missing something, add it.
So because there's a lot of variables, your questions are different, my questions different, your questions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, sit down with your agent. You said that about a million times, so you definitely want to stress that.
Right.
Sit down with them.
Yeah, I mean, insurance is, everybody hates it, but everybody more or less has to have it, whether the law says it or your mortgage company says it. But insurance is not out to wrong you. Okay. Insurance is there to help you when something goes wrong.
Right.
So, I would say check that notion out the door. And, if you have a problem with what you're paying for, go sit down with your agent. You know, if you, I mean, because those, I will say that those who understand their coverages don't have a problem with what they're paying for. They know.
Right.
So.
Clarity is power.
Yes.
Clarity is power.
Yes.
Okay. So 2 more things and then we'll end the live video. Okay. The first is if someone, maybe not your agent or one of your customers, or is one of your customers or anything like that, if they want to reach out to you or your office or anything, what's the best way to do that? Just call the office number, Facebook,
office number is probably best. Okay. So the office number is 376-2478.
Okay.
My email is super easy. It's alexa@lindabrandon.com.
Okay, super easy.
Super easy. Okay. So if you have questions or concerns, policyholder or not, you know, if you're not a policyholder, I can't see things, but maybe I can answer some very general questions.
Okay.
But I'm probably still going to tell you to call your agent. Like whether you're State Farm family or you're with one of the other companies, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So call the office first. If not,
email.
Shoot you an email.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, now the most important.
Okay.
And my favorite part of all of these live streams that I do.
Okay.
And it's something I didn't even tell you about.
Perfect.
And this is we'll call it 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay.
And whatever you want. So it's your claim to fame, right? It's your minute of freedom. You can talk about literally anything. So I explain it as like, if there's a new restaurant that you like to eat at, let's hear about that. If there's something that's been keeping you up at night, some random thought. If it's a book you want to read, if it's a movie you want to read, like what are you excited about? What are you thinking about? Let's see a little bit of Alexa.
So one of the things that's been keeping me up night is Netflix and painting.
Okay.
I mean, it's not Netflix and chill, but Netflix and painting. Fun fact about Alexa is my great-grandmother was actually an esteemed artist. I will say, I don't know how famous she got back in the day.
You want to name drop her real quick?
Almadine.
Okay.
Almadine came from Louisiana. Okay. So I have all of her artwork. She's I forget what she started off with, but every time she started something, she got allergic to it. So she went through acrylic, oil, watercolor, and when she got allergic to something, she moved to a different medium. And so I've always loved painting, and I get on it off and on. Back in high school, I was loving it, and then I had the pleasure of working for Town Square Art Gallery for 5 years, and it was amazing to be surrounded by the artwork, being surrounded by the artist. And so now for everyone's Christmas presents, they are all giving paintings.
So how passionate are you about it? Like, do you sell it? Do you post pictures of what you paint? If someone wants to see your artwork...
So I can't post any pictures about it right now because it's everyone's Christmas presents. So everybody in the office gets to see them. Okay. I do it because I have fun. The paint nights are awesome that they've started here in the Valley. So, but just not almost every night for the last couple weeks, I've been watching Netflix and painting just right there at my kitchen counter. And
I like it.
Yeah.
Perfect. And staying up way too late watching Netflix and painting.
Probably.
Perfect. So an expert on insurance and an expert on Netflix and painting.
We're getting there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
That's it.
Awesome.
That was great. That was it. I think it was live number 4 or 5. My numbers are messed up. I'll figure that out later. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys have any other questions, you have her email and her phone number. And go sit down with your agent. Jesus.
Please.
See you next time. And...